scene in Ratatouille where he takes the bite at the end and it flashes him back to when he was a kid. I saw that play unfolding with Keenan as he wound up, and literally as his arm is coming back, I'm seeing LaDainian Tomlinson do the same thing, man. Dude, that hit me right in the feels so hard. That was one of those plays, man. That's gonna stick with me forever. That was so cool. Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Yo to Bolt fam, it's the director. Chargers fans. Oh, it feels good to be back, baby. Victory Monday, back with the Chargers after an epic game versus the Minnesota Vikings. Dude, this game was absolutely wild, just peppered with classic Chargers moments all over it. I actually had to go order some jerseys in remembering this game because, oh my God, Keenan Allen. Oh my God, Justin Herbert. Oh my God, Tuli Tuipulotu. It was definitely one worth watching. And honestly, it's a game that we needed so desperately. If you guys hadn't heard, my panic throughout the last week, I've been going door to door panicking, saying, hey, if the Chargers lose this game, our chances to go into the playoffs go down to 0.25%. Luckily, the Chargers make it out the other end. The season, in a sense, has been saved. Our chances to make the postseason, all of a sudden, up to 25%. We can work with that. It was a very, very important game for the Chargers to clutch up, and honestly, when it was all on the line, when it really meant the most, the Chargers were able to figure it out, grabbing their first dub of the season, and hopefully getting this season on track, man. This was a huge game. Lots to go over. Some big moments, some big stats, some big repercussions going into the future. Just let's enjoy it, Bolt fam. It's been a very stressful ride. We haven't won a game in a long time, and this was definitely one to go out there and celebrate on Monday throughout the whole week. Soak it in. Soak it in. Before we do start breaking down this game, man, reliving the magic, shout out to our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. I had a pretty good week this last week. I don't know about you guys. Very good time. Lots and lots of fun had on Underdog, the best fantasy platform on the web. If you guys want to get in on the action, use code DIRECTOR to match your first deposit up to $100. And guess what? Extra incentive if you guys are a brand new user for Underdog Fantasy, you want to sign up, you'll get this special Jared Goff half-yard total for the pick'ems. My favorite way to use Underdog Fantasy. Remember, use code DIRECTOR to match your first deposit up to $100. We're all taking the under, right? The under on the 0.5 total yards for Jared Goff. Free entry right there. Before we do get started, guys, to kick this video off, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. Small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's jump into it, baby. Lights, camera, action. Your Chargers at Vikings post-game report. Victory Monday. What are we going to call this episode? Keenan's revenge. Herbert's revenge. I like that quite a bit. A big game for Justin Herbert. Big game for Keenan Allen. Big game for a lot of players on this roster. Quite honestly, we needed this so bad, baby. Let's go ahead and start off with some of the stats here, man. This is absolutely insane. The Chargers taking down Minnesota Vikings 28-24, but it was the fashion in which this happened that makes this one game to remember. Justin Herbert throwing for 405 yards, 3 touchdowns. We'll break him down in just a minute. Run game, definitely not so much, only 30 yards, but take a look at this passing game, man, in terms of receiving. Keenan Allen, 215 yards. Mike Williams, 121 yards and a tutty. Josh Palmer, 66 and a tutty. Absolutely insane. And the Chargers, in terms of turnovers, my goodness, man. We had the fumble by Alohi. Gilman should have had 2. We had a whole bunch of good things looking on defense, as well as guys like Kenneth Murray standing out, Derwin James, Tuli. We got a lot to break down here, man. So let's go ahead and jump into our first topic. The elephant in the room, man. This one called Keenan Goes Nuclear. Now, I know there's a lot of Chargers fans, I would say mainly fans outside of our fandom, that question whether or not Keenan Allen is still going to be able to maintain pace through his early 30s. We would expect a lot of wide receivers to slow down, fall off the map, etc., around that age. I mentioned something in my Bleacher Report post-game show that I think not only resonated with me, but a couple of fans out there. Every once in a while, you're going to find a player that's so special and so efficient and in just such a good situation that they almost become immortal, right? They become ageless. They become a centerpiece of the offense no matter the age. And the last time I could remember this, and one that I actually do compare a lot to a Keenan Allen, is going to be Larry Fitzgerald. I view Keenan Allen very similarly to a Larry Fitzgerald. Just even look at the man's beard right now, man. He's a little white in the beard. He's got that salt and pepper going on. It doesn't matter. Keenan Allen is not slowing down. As a matter of fact, he's not slowing down to the pace this last week to over 200 yards, 215 receiving yards for Keenan Allen, not to mention the passing touchdown, which was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen as a Chargers fan, for 49 yards and a tutty. Dude, absolutely insane performance. A special one. It was a big reason why I wanted to go and purchase a jersey after the game. I don't have any white jerseys from this era of the Chargers. I wanted to make my first one Keenan Allen. It wasn't even available on the website, so I had to make one. That's how special it was to me. I want to remember that moment of Keenan Allen. I want to remember that play from Keenan Allen, especially the passing play this day. It's going to be very special for me. So I'm excited to see Keenan Allen continue his stride, man. Wouldn't call this a revenge game for him. I would just say he is solidifying his legacy here in this season with the Chargers. The ageless wonder, Keenan, is doing it again, man. And honestly, it does put in perspective what the Chargers may need to end up doing in the future when it comes to the money, when it comes to the contracts. I want to see Keenan Allen with his team until the day he decides to retire. He, to me, is getting up to that level, getting close to it at least, of a guy like Antonio Gates, LaDainian Tomlinson. This man needs to remain a Charger for as long as possible, and honestly, I would love to see him retire in powder blue. Keenan Allen, fantastic day. Fantasy owners out there going crazy. I think he came in 18 of 20 targets, which is also absolutely insane. Justin Herbert to Keenan Allen, one of those things that we're going to remember fondly years from now, telling our kids, back in the day, the Chargers played the Minnesota Vikings, and Keenan Allen had a passing touchdown and 200 yards in a single game. It was magical. It was glorious. Live it in, or live it up, Chargers fans. And congratulations to Keenan, man. What an awesome performance. Again, reminding me of LT. I'm sure you guys are going to see that in the opener today. Very, very special game for number 13. Can't wait to get my white number 13 in the mail here very soon, as far as a jersey is concerned. Next up, this video, I think we're going to title it Herbert's Revenge, because it's been a while. It's been a while since Justin Herbert and his efforts and his heroics have led to a Chargers victory, especially in such a stressful situation. Can you guys imagine waking up every day being Justin Herbert? For one, I'd be like, yeah, I got all the money in the world, no stress, no problems for me. Outside of that, you play for the Chargers, who in the last 5 games previous this one have been so stressful. I can't believe this man's hair isn't falling out. It's been absolutely so insane how spectacularly of a situation Justin Herbert's been put in over and over and over again. Dating back to last season, I think the loss to the Broncos, obviously the loss to the Jags. We start off 0-2 this season in very close games. Justin Herbert needed this dub, baby. Justin Herbert needed to believe that Justin Herbert could go out there, lead a team to victory, and put the Chargers in a good situation. And that's exactly what Justin Herbert did, to the tune of 400 yards. 400 yards. Also his 100th passing touchdown. Another, I don't know record, but another check mark, another checkpoint for this young quarterback's career. And speaking of benchmarks, before we move off, before I completely forget, congratulations in additional to Keenan Allen, who has broken the record for most receiving yards by a Chargers wide receiver in franchise history, surpassing the great Lance Allworth. Big moments, big games, big stats, big repercussion, history made in this game on Sunday. Now, Justin Herbert, a big thing that I wanted to point out, again, there's a lot of Chargers fans, a lot of fans around the league wondering, does he have the ability to clutch? Does he have ability to lead? Does he have ability to this, and that, be flexible? There's so much about Justin this week that it reaffirms my belief, and I'm hoping the belief of a lot of other fans in the NFL, not just Chargers fans, but the respective fans throughout the league and all other fandoms, that Herbert is elite. Whether you think he's top 5, top 10, top 3, whatever, Justin Herbert is the real deal. There are plays made on Sunday that only Justin Herbert can pull off, or even him and a small handful of quarterbacks throughout the league. There's a couple that come to mind. Justin Herbert, he had a player in his face passing off his back foot, and I think he hit Josh Palmer for a big gain on that play. It may have been Mike Williams. Either way, big moments for Justin Herbert. Pocket collapsing in on him, not a lot of time to get away. He even had a defender right on his back, getting ready to complete a sack on the play. Justin Herbert shakes it off, runs for the first down. These are things that you're getting from Justin Herbert that's going to be very hard to get with any other player. Now, the mobility thing is honestly something that I did want to touch on just a little bit. It's something that we're seeing evolve in this new Kellen Moore offense, which has been fantastic to start the season. And it's something we're just adding to Justin Herbert's, Batman utility belt at this point. His ability to scramble and to get yards and to extend plays. It's starting to emerge here, and it's becoming more and more apparent that Justin Herbert and this offense and this system are starting to marry a little bit. 400 yards doesn't come easy. Especially, when you're able to utilize weapons on your roster. Utilizing Keenan Allen versus a Vikings defense that for whatever reason wasn't adjusting very well is something that elite quarterbacks do. It's like, okay, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's not get cute. Let's go out there and put up these yards. Justin Herbert, man, fantastic day for him. 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. What a performance. What a performance. And honestly, one that really helps the Chargers get back on track offensively. One that puts a lot of faith in me as a Chargers fan that Kellen Moore can go out there and create a system that Justin Herbert is going to thrive in. Mark my words, guys. A lot of you guys may not know this, but I'm pretty sure that this is Justin Herbert's first 400-yard game in his career, which is shocking to think because he's been so good throughout the entirety of his career. Mark my words. If this trend continues, I think we may see another one this season. There's another opponent down the road that I think the Chargers are going to have a lot of success with through the air, and it's going to be a close game because of how many points are put up. I think there's another 400-yard game coming in his future. So Justin Herbert, man, congratulations. The revenge tour has begun, I suppose. Hopefully we can build off of this win, get the season back on track, and a lot of it has to do with what this man number 10 can do on the field. Next up, speaking of an emergence, man, look at this duo. Number 45 and 97. The math, it makes perfect sense all of a sudden. This is going to be absolutely something to watch for Chargers fans going forward. This segment called Bosa and Tuli's Tour of Terror. I like it, man. I need that on a t-shirt. Bosa and Tuli's Tour of Terror continues here in week 3. I think it kind of began, especially for Tuli in week 1, and then really came to the surface in week 2. Where Joey Bosa and Tuli rushing on the same time found a lot of success. And good for Brandon Staley recognizing the success of that play and running it again and finding new ways to roll it out in week 3 versus Kirk Cousins, which definitely took an impact on the game. The pass rush is starting to become the biggest strength of this Chargers team. I think we logged at least 2 sacks, right? Maybe even another one, maybe 3. I don't remember. But either way, I know Tuli was in on one. I know Joey Bosa was in on one. This duo is out there rocking the world of quarterbacks. Now, of course, we can't forget about Khalil Mack, who is getting swept under the rug a little bit. He is a legacy player. He is a bit older. He's probably not going to go out there and put up as much sacks as we were all hoping, but he has been very relevant, especially versus the run. He has been producing pressure and heat. This trio of edge rushers is doing some amazing things. Then you throw in guys like Morgan Fox, who I think did get a sack as well, right? It really does make a dangerous unit. And for a lot of Chargers fans, I think the biggest surprise is going to be Tuli Tuipulotu's emergence so quickly. I think a big reason why we're seeing number 45 rolling out there more often than not, I think a lot of us were expecting to see him kind of slowly brought into the system. He's kind of been forced to go in there and perform more because of Joey Bosa's injury, or at least them trying to make sure his exposure in games isn't too crazy. And to do that, they've been putting in Tuli Tuipulotu a lot more. Well, Tuli's been taking advantage of every opportunity so far. He's been absolutely insane. As a matter of fact, I think in terms of pressures for the first 3 games, he is second in NFL history as far as rookies are concerned, only to Nick Bosa, which is absolutely insane considering this man's a second-round pick. He wasn't projected to get very many starts this season, if any at all. He's supposed to be a rotational kind of guy to bring in. He's just getting more action because of the Joey Bosa situation. Absolutely insane. The Chargers got something very special in Tuli, and this was actually another one of those guys where I was like, I feel like something's emerging here that's going to be very special. I think Tuli's going to be very special. I have 2 Joey Bosa jerseys already. Last night I went and got me a Tuli Tuipulotu as well. I'm investing, man. I think Tuli's something special. I think going forward, even past the Khalil Mack era, which we've always thought because of money that Mack was probably going to play this season, maybe be let go next year. We've got a really, really good player in Tuli opposite Joey Bosa, and this pass rush is going to remain very dangerous going forward. So congratulations to Tuli, man. Absolutely insane. Not to mention, before we head out of here with that conversation, Tuli, who for whatever reason has been dropping in coverage quite a bit as well, has been doing a great job there. This guy's just all over the field, man. Tuli Tuipulotu, second-round pick for the Chargers, looking absolutely fantastic. Next up, another linebacker, edge for Thule, linebacker for Kenneth Murray, who is having himself a storybook season this year. Now, maybe week 1, a little bit lackluster. Week 2, he really started to pick up steam. Week 3, holy cow. Welcome back, Canine Kenneth Murray. This segment called Kenneth Murray Back to Canine Status. This is so nice to see, man. A lot of Chargers fans, myself included, almost feeling K9 coming into the season was a bit of a liability at linebacker, especially when it comes to pass coverage. It feels like the Chargers have kind of figured out how to utilize him a little bit better. They've been using him as a blitzer a lot more often, been letting him get after the running back a lot more often. It's been really nice to see his emergence and, quite honestly, his improvement even in passing coverage. It's been so noticeable for me as far as a Chargers fan that I cannot help but step back and say, wow, did we get lucky with Kenneth Murray? I hope it continues this season. I hope it continues to a point where he's so good that the Chargers break the trend of letting go of really good, linebackers and give this man an opportunity to play into the future for this team. He's off to a good start. Let's continue letting him prove it through the course of this year. But Kenneth Murray, man, who I think led the team in tackles, sealed the game away with a game-sealing touchdown, or game-sealing interception, I should say, is slowly emerging as one of the most impactful players on defense. Wow, Kenneth. Very, very good game for him. Very excited. And honestly, I hope that he continues this progress, man. It's been so nice to see. Kenneth Murray, congratulations. Or should I say, K9, welcome back to the Los Angeles Chargers. Speaking of which, another defender out there, man, playing a little bit in the box, playing a little bit everywhere. Alohi Gilman, man. This dude, I think this may have been the best game of his career. And he's had a couple of pretty good ones in recent memory, especially dating back to the later part of last season. Alohi Gilman was out here making some plays, man. And there's a trait that's starting to emerge with Alohi that for whatever reason is starting to work really, really well this season. And that's that strip. What I mean by strip is he gets his hand in there and he's ripping that football out. Alohi Gilman, 2 strip fumbles this game. Maybe one might say, well, director, there's only 1 on the stat sheet. I don't care, man. You guys see that penalty, or not that penalty, that call by the refs on Alohi's second strip fumble? That was one of the most egregious things I've ever seen. Alohi Gilman, it was on Alexander Madison, right? Rips the ball out after making contact for about maybe a second, maybe even less than a second, and the refs say they had blown the whistle. They called the play dead. I think a lot of Chargers fans will tack that up as one of the most ridiculous play calls of all time, or one of the most ridiculous calls from the refs from all time. The Chargers definitely got screwed. Alohi Gilman got screwed, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Alohi Gilman had a very fantastic day. Chargers forcing more turnovers. Alohi Gilman stepping up into that role as to why that's happening. And that's going to be very dangerous going forward if Alohi can continue perfecting that craft. We got Joey Bosa, who's very good at that. We got Khalil Mack that's very good at that. I'm sure Thule's going to bring some of that element in there. And, of course, guys like Derwin James, et cetera, et cetera. It's looking pretty nice out here, man. It's looking pretty nice out here. Congratulations to Alohi Gilman, who's progressing as a very nice safety for the Chargers. Next up, Parham reaches the stars. Now, Donald Parham, I don't know how involved he's going to get with the offense going forward as like their tight end 1, but as a tight end 2 and as more specifically a red zone threat, this guy's been absolutely on fire, man. Chargers, especially, this is one thing I love about Kellen Moore is the obvious understanding of personnel skill and mismatching. Okay, we've seen in the past the Chargers not roll out a Donald Parham, even though he's like a foot taller than a lot of these other DBs in the red zone. For whatever reason, it just really didn't emerge that way. Now we're starting to see him in these situations where his height is going to matter. And it mattered to the tune of 2 touchdowns this last week. Ooh, Donald Parham, welcome. A bit of a shorter segment here, but I do think Parham, again, maybe he grows into that role a little bit more, especially with Mike Williams and that situation going down. The Chargers are going to be utilizing that height in the red zone, and maybe even throughout the course of the season as a receiver a bit more, to keep that option available for Justin Herbert. So the height of Donald Parham definitely helps in reaching the stars there in the end zone. Speaking of stars, Palmer and his lucky stars in this segment, dude. Josh Palmer, this man has been emerging. I think that he's got some of the best hands on the team outside of Keenan Allen. There is something special brewing in Palmer, and I do think that going into the future, we're going to see, especially even immediate, we're going to see a big role for him starting to be carved into this offense because of how good his availability's been and his hands more in particular. In this particular play, I wanted to focus in on his focus, on his tracking, on his awareness, because this could have easily been an incomplete pass. This could have easily been even intercepted. Instead, Josh Palmer, off of the tipped lack of interception, is able to track that ball snag it, and stumble backwards for a touchdown. That is great, man. That is elite awareness. That is elite playmaking. And Josh Palmer, I think, is slowly starting to gain the confidence of a lot of Chargers fans saying, hey, man, the Mike Williams thing sucks, and it tears my heart to pieces, and we'll talk about that in a second. But Josh Palmer, I think, is ready to step up into that role, and we have a couple other options for the Chargers to continue rolling out the wide receiver position. So Josh Palmer, who I do think is going to be a major, major facet of this wide receiver group going forward, proves once again he's having a great season, that he's going to be a great player for this team, and the Chargers, who don't get lucky very often, are able to capitalize on a lucky play because of the concentration and awareness of number 5. All right? Now let's get into some of the things that the Chargers fans are probably a little bit worried about. I've been getting asked about this all day since this morning. We finally got confirmation that, unfortunately for Mike Williams, he will be out the rest of the season with a torn ACL. And this could likely also mean that we have perhaps seen the last of Mike Williams in powder blue for the Chargers. That bums me out, man. Again, that rips my heart to pieces. And some of you might say, Director, why in the world? He's under contract for one more season with us. It's basically because of the money. The money next season at the wide receiver position was going to force the Chargers to make a decision, right? Between Keenan Allen and Mike Williams or both, the Chargers could cut them to save, I think it's around $20 million a pop, which is a lot of money. And with Justin Herbert's contract kicking in soon, it would have made a lot of sense for the Chargers to move on from one of these guys. I think a lot of us expected Keenan Allen to be the one that was safe. I think this really solidified it. And I think especially with the injury concerns behind Mike Williams lately, that kind of set that motion in track now. Or set that conclusion in motion, which really sucks, dude. My heart is aching. My heart is torn to pieces in lieu or in pain for Mike Williams and his lack of opportunity over the years because of his health. It was a very awkward tackle. I did not like seeing that in this game, and it's going to cost Mike Williams the rest of the season. And unfortunately for us, we may see him in a different jersey next year. Despite that, man, despite wherever he goes, whatever happens, I'm hoping the best for Mike Williams. I hope maybe there's a chance that we find a way to keep him with the team next year. Maybe by some miracle, like, the Chargers are more interested, and maybe other teams are less interested because of the health or whatever, and we can make that contract make sense for a couple of seasons, maybe spread that money out a little bit. But if not, man, congratulations to Mike Williams on an awesome career with the Chargers to start off, and I hope he has a speedy recovery. I really do. I really do. Speaking of injured Chargers in the late part of that game, Derwin James was on the sideline with a wrap around his thigh. A lot of people speculating it was a hamstring issue. After the game, I think the coaching came out and said that it was a non-issue. It was very minor, so don't worry about it. As far as I've heard so far since then, Derwin is okay, and he should be available sooner than later. So hopefully Derwin's all right. He's a big part of our defense. Now, speaking of the Mikey issue, unfortunately not going to be available for the rest of the year. This does put the Chargers in an interesting situation when it comes to Palmer and Quentin Johnston. As I mentioned in the Palmer section, I think he's going to be a very, very highly utilized player for the rest of the season. Chargers very lucky to have him, but it's also time for the Chargers first rounder to step up. We've seen him peppered in on some bubble screens, some very simple plays out here every once in a while, but I think now starting in week 4, Quentin Johnston's going to start mixing into the offense a lot more. And to the point where I think QJ, I feel like his season is just beginning now. And honestly, a lot of people will say, hey, Quentin Johnston, he's got that same build as Mike Williams. Is he going to step into that role? I'll say that, yeah, a little bit. I think you can expect to see Quentin Johnston used in a very similar fashion. But let's not forget that Quentin is a different player than Mike Williams. He's got different strengths and weaknesses. Is he as good in contested catch situations? Not as much, but I think you can still utilize him that way. Either way, the Chargers wide receiver room and the wide receiver situation is going to look a little bit different going forward. And if you guys have been waiting for Quentin Johnston to get more involved, well, here it is, man. I think QJ is about to see the field just a little bit more, okay? Speaking of injuries, speaking of a lot of things, man, JC Jackson, I won't touch on this too much. A lot of Chargers fans disappointed in what's going on with JC. A healthy scratch. And what that means is that J.C. Jackson was not at all in any way injured. He was a healthy player on the sideline. The Chargers just decided not to roll him out this week, not activate him this week for this game, which says a lot about what could be going on behind the scenes. The coaching felt that they had a better shot at defending Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in the NFL, and the slew of other weapons that Minnesota has on their offense without JC on the field. Now, we come to find out just hours later, I should say the next day, that there was something a little bit more complicated going on behind the scenes with JC Jackson. I just read on Twitter, I don't have the exact quote in front of me. It had something to do with a legal consequence for JC out there right now. I think there's a warrant or something. It might be a speeding ticket. I don't remember what it was, but something legally not going on with JC that's also causing some problems behind the scenes. People have asked me, is that going to affect his contract? Can we avoid it? I don't know. I don't have those answers for you guys, but the JC Jackson story with the Chargers continues to get murkier. I don't know what to expect from him going forward, but right now we're just going to have to wait and see. It doesn't look good. That's all I'm going to say. It doesn't look good. Finally, last couple of points. We need Austin Eckler. Running game was pretty pathetic without him. 30 yards off of I don't know how many carries. Kellen Moore, who I was hoping to see get that run game going this week, especially behind a Vikings defense that wasn't too great. It was kind of crazy not to see that happen, even with Josh Kelly, who I think is a very good backup running back. Didn't see it this week. I think the Austin Eckler effect is certainly being felt, or the lack thereof. So we need to see number 30 back in the field as soon as possible. And lastly, the biggest controversial part of this video, you draw a line in the sand, you're going to see half Chargers fans on one side, half Chargers fans on the other. This segment called Staley's Stumbles. The one thing I think we can all agree on, no matter what side you're on with the fourth down call in the fourth quarter, I think the penalties are out of control, especially when it comes to the timing of them. Now, sure, there's a lot of penalties this game that I think were bullcrap. A lot of penalties that I think should have been called versus the Vikings that did not get called, and a lot of just bad officiating altogether. But that doesn't excuse the lack of discipline I'm seeing from the team, especially on defense when it comes to these penalties. The timing's been bad. The yards have been worse. It's been bad. It's been very, very bad. And that lands on Staley. We got to sort that out. But the biggest thing people have been asking me about is that fourth down call in the fourth quarter. Chargers are winning by 4. They're in their own territory, in and around the 25-yard line. There's 2 minutes left, or under 2 minutes left in the game. Vikings have no timeouts. We have an elite punter that can probably, pin it inside the 30. We've got a defense that had been making some plays, but instead Brandon Staley decides to go for it on 4th and short. We don't get it, and it puts the Chargers in a situation we're going to lose the game. Now, fortunately for us, Kenneth Murray goes in there and saves the day with an interception. The defense does their job, but my goodness. Again, you draw a line in the sand, you're going to find a lot of Chargers fans saying, I support the call. I think statistically, the call was sound, like the analytics support that decision. But I don't know, man. I'm on that side of the Chargers fandom where I do not like the call. I think you can take a look at the surrounding situation and make a better decision there. When it comes to no timeouts by the Vikings, an elite punter, field position, I feel like if it were me, I probably would have punted. Of course, it did work out, fortunately, for the Chargers. And maybe it's not the most crazy thing. I think a lot of people are more pointing out the Kellen Moore play call of handing it off to Josh Kelly, who got stuffed. Like, why not use Justin Herbert? Why not use Gerald Everett, who's been crazy good in that situation? Why not do something in terms of utilizing better talent instead of handing it off to your backup running back? I agree with that, but I also don't like the decision. So that is going to be something that the Chargers and its fans need to hold Staley accountable for, or at least support. I don't know. I don't know what the call is there. I don't like it. I don't care if you guys like it or not. In the end, we won the game, which is great. But going into the future, the risk reward is starting to worry me just a little bit. But Staley, in my opinion, he survives another week. He survives another day. I think he's going to keep his job after that. There is a chance that the Chargers really didn't like that decision, and it could, even after winning this game, cost him his job. I don't think that's the case. But for right now, let's go ahead and breathe easy, especially if you're Brandon Staley. So to wrap up this video, let's end on a really good note, man. The Chargers, their season's back on the line. 25% chance to make the postseason. I think we can get the season back on track. Chargers, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, the stars are back in rhythm. We did take a couple of steps back in losing, Mike Williams, and not knowing what's going on with Derwin James, not knowing what's going on with JC Jackson. But fortunately for us, the season is still alive, and we have time to sort that out this week. So breathing in, Chargers fans. It's a good day to be a Chargers fan. It was a great game. One of the ones I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. The Keenan Allen passing touchdown was great. The Josh Palmer touchdown was great. The interception by K9 was great. Justin Herbert was on fire. Let's live it up. Let's live it up. So congratulations, Chargers fans. You got your first dub. Well, guys, if you did enjoy what you saw here today, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director, and we'll catch you next time. As always, bolt up and stay frosty. Get ready to suit up, QJ. It is your time to shine, my man. Time to step up.